Hello everyone, Jimmy Lin coming to you from the LG Digital Broadcast Studio at Georgetown University School of Continuing Studies. So back in June, the NFL and Twitter announced a historic $10 million deal that gave Twitter the exclusive live streaming rights for the NFL Thursday Night Football. Amazon, Verizon, Facebook, and Yahoo were all contenders, but it was Twitter who won. I'm joined in the studio by my colleagues and fellow faculty members, Micah Sellers and Kyle Scriven, to get their thoughts on this deal. So this is near and dear to me, being a longtime sports digital guy. No league is bigger or more popular than the NFL. You look at, they're always trying to get incremental revenue out of their content. And to me, the classic deal, obviously, is the NFL Sunday Ticket direct TV deal, starting in the early 90s, which became $1 billion revenue stream. I was at AOL in the heyday when internet was new, and we ended up paying a lot of money managing that partnership. Then the NFL went out and got the satellite radio money from XM and Sirius, and then now the mobile deal with Verizon Wireless. So now we're here with Twitter, social media platform, who you're going after. So let's start with the basics. What does this partnership mean for Twitter, and what does it mean for the NFL?
Well, I think if you look at the deal itself, with the folks that were competing for the rights, I think the selection of Twitter tells you a lot about what the NFL is looking to achieve here.
Right.
It's 2020. Their broadcast rights are up. They're going to be renegotiating rights with broadcasters. Digital rights are going to be up for a grab. You look at the capabilities that Amazon or that Verizon or the Yahoo would bring to the mix. Sure, they're perfectly capable of streaming the content. But if your goal is to build a global audience and to build global engagement for the brand and the content, Twitter is the natural platform. Add to that, the acquisition of Periscope just 18-20 months ago. It's a natural fit.
And for Twitter, I think obviously in recent years they've had a bit of a struggle bringing new subscribers into the platform and keeping those subscribers active on a monthly basis. And something like the NFL, which has an audience that is obviously already on Twitter. If you watch any game, there's a hashtag, there's an ongoing conversation, regardless of whether or not the stream was available inside Twitter. For Twitter, this is an opportunity to bring in the audience that watches the NFL, but maybe isn't a Twitter user at this point, but also to engage some of their users who are mostly dormant, but might find being able to watch a game and have a real-time conversation right next to it a really compelling reason to watch it through that platform.
Yeah, I think both Mike and Kyle, you guys both hit it on the head. And the one thing what's really interesting is you look at which sport is the most popular, American sport, it's the NBA, and it's that global brand. NFL is huge in the US, but it's not that popular in Asia, not that popular in South America. That's another reason Twitter brings a lot of value to the NFL.
For sure, and to your point, when you think about Twitter's kind of struggle for relevance, I think a lot of people have been talking about the death of Twitter for a while. I think it's greatly overstated.
Sure.
I do think, though, what's interesting about this deal from Twitter's perspective is they have been struggling for revenue, right? They have been struggling for relevancy for advertisers. And I think this actually naturally gives them a new opportunity to kind of reposition the platform. And you think about, the potential future offering of, whether it's, Periscope Plus, for premium content or something similar to that, this provides a new unique opportunity. And to your point with respect to the global audience, I do think this creates a tremendous opportunity for the NFL. You look at what they tried to do with the NFL Europe a couple of years ago, almost for a decade.
Those are mostly expats going to the game.
Exactly, and and even when Yahoo bid for the rights to air the London game, it was a very limited amount of engagement for the audience. This creates a new opportunity for the NFL to expose the brand and the content to a global audience that they've never really been able to reach before.
Yeah, which the EPL and NBA are both doing really, really well.
And, and Twitter being a mobile-first platform, when you think about the rest of the world, they're not on big screens, right? They're on small screens, and this is a really natural fit.
And especially the millennials who are watching more and more on mobile and tablets, not on TV.
For sure.
So what is the revenue play for Twitter?
I think it's advertising. I think if you think about how they could inject advertising into the stream, just like you could do with television, it's rich. But you add to that, the ability to do demographic or psychographic targeting. You've been tweeting about your teams forever since the platform was
about my Redskins against your Cowboys.
Exactly. So Twitter's ability to reach back, fetch those tweets, use it as context, and present you with with a if you're an Eagles fan, an Eagles jersey, that's huge.
Right.
Or the opportunity for other advertisers, to figure out, hey, how do we really tap into that audience and deliver the ads that you can't do that with TV.
Right.
You really can't. Not now.
Right.
Maybe in the future.
And I think the usage is half the usage of Twitter is sports. Like look at the stream during the live events.
Right. Yeah. But you think about the context of the advertising play here, it's much broader than that.
Right.
Because I think what Twitter realizes is that when those broadcast rights are up, right? What will those broadcasters represent in terms of potential revenue in the future? Right. Because advertisers know kids are cutting the cord.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
With the fragmentation of the entertainment industry, and with people moving to kind of on demand, whether it's Netflix or Hulu or HBO Go. What's the future for the NFL? Digital rights are going to be really critically important.
There's no given that when that contract, the rights contract is up in 5-6 years, why does the NFL have to say, well, we're only picking between NBC, ABC, CBS,
Yeah, they're going to go to Apple,
There's
Google, who else out there? Right?
Yeah, people aren't necessarily consuming content that way anymore. And for Twitter, like Micah says, we've been talking about social media as this kind of large focus group. Really from an advertising standpoint for a long time now. And having all of that data, like most TV shows now will try to connect their conversation online by flashing a hashtag on screen or something to that effect. Well, instead of having to try to connect you from one platform to another, Twitter is giving an advertiser the opportunity to say, all right, the show's happening on Twitter. The conversation's happening on Twitter. My advertising should take place right there in a self-contained unit instead of worrying about, well, I need to work with this network to buy a certain ad time, during this segment of the show when they have this hashtag going. It's just all self-contained, and I think it's a huge opportunity for
That's
Twitter.
why I tell the students, a good time to be students because there's a whole revolution going on here.
Oh, for sure.
So let me ask you, so integrating social media with TV isn't all that new. Twitter's done something different by bringing it all together on one platform. Others have certainly taken note. Who else should Twitter be looking out for?
Facebook.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Facebook Live,
I think at the end of the day, Facebook Live is interesting, but I think what Facebook has done, which Twitter's dabble with a little bit, is they have a lot more experimentation with commerce.
Right.
So you think about the potential for commerce integration with entertainment, which we've been talking about for a long time too.
Right.
Since the middle of the 90s.
Yep.
We're at the precipice where these things are now really possible, right? Where you can have a global chat room around the NFL or the Game of Thrones or any other premium content. But you also have the future of the integration of commerce and advertising, right?
Yep.
So when you're able to see if you're watching the game and Deshaun has on a jersey, that's the jersey I want.
Yep.
How do you tap that and now be able to buy it?
Absolutely.
Facebook is a little ahead of the curve on commerce from where where Twitter is now, rather. So I think Facebook would be the danger.
Yeah, I mean, Facebook has to look at Twitter and say the one thing that Twitter is doing that we don't have is real-time conversation. It can happen to some degree on Facebook, but your news feed is far more curated. And while Twitter is trying things in that space, Twitter is really seen as a real-time live conversation. And if digital content is moving, or just content in general is moving towards Twitter, Facebook would be the number one target. I would just say, well, I'll pitch you two against each other, and you give me your audience. Facebook obviously has a larger kind of a monthly active users audience than Twitter right now. It's a huge competitor.
And they're launching satellites.
Exactly.
You add to it, they're launching satellites. That should tell you a lot about what their future strategy is.
Well, this has been fantastic. That's all the time we have. So we'll have to leave it on that note. Thanks to my colleagues, Micah and Kyle, for joining me, and thanks for everyone out there watching. Stay tuned for more LG Digital Studio here at Georgetown SCS. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.